Hello and welcome to my podcast. I'm Alden Carrow, poet and author of North Yorkshire in Verse, More to Shore in Poetry. This show is about slowing down, listening closely, and discovering the poetry that lives in both the extraordinary and the everyday. Each episode, I'll begin with a guest poem or poems, something from the wide world of poetry that has inspired me or continues to resonate. Then I'll invite you, the listeners, to suggest future guest poems. After that, I'll share one of my own pieces too. With Christmas only 6 weeks away and the internet, high street and Christmas fairs all competing for our business, I want to take a moment to reflect on the spaces we inhabit, the changes we witness, and the celebrations that bring us together. This week's theme is urban decay and renewal. We'll hear from two guest poets whose work explores the fading grandeur and hidden beauty of our towns and cities, before turning to a celebration of community spirit at a Yorkshire food festival. And now T.S. Eliot's poem Preludes, written in 1910's London. I've chosen this poem because it captures the grim, repetitive rhythms of modern city life. The winter evening settles down with smell of steaks in passageways. 6 o'clock. The burnt-out ends of smoky days, and now a gusty shower wraps the grimy scraps of withered leaves about your feet and newspapers from vacant lots. The showers beat on broken blinds and chimney pots, and at the corner of the street a lonely cab horse steams and stamps, and then the lighting of the lamps. The morning comes to consciousness of faint stale smells of beer from the sawdust-trampled street with all its muddy feet that press to early coffee stands. With the other masquerades that time resumes, one thinks of all the hands that are raising dingy shades in 1,000 furnished rooms. You tossed a blanket from the bed, you lay upon your back and waited. You dozed and watched the night revealing the 1,000 sordid images of which your soul was constituted. They flickered against the ceiling, and when all the world came back, and the light crept up between the shutters, and you heard the sparrows in the gutters, you had such a vision of the street as the street hardly understands, sitting along the bed's edge where you curled the papers from your hair, or clasped the yellow soles of feet in the palms of both soiled hands. His soul stretched tight across the skies that fade behind a city block, or trampled by insistent feet at 4 and 5 and 6 o'clock, and short square fingers stuffing pipes, and evening newspapers, and eyes assured of certainties, the conscience of a blackened street, impatient to assume the world. I am moved by fancies that are curled around these images and cling. The notion of some infinitely gentle, infinitely suffering thing. Wipe your hands across your mouth and laugh. The worlds revolve like ancient women, gathering fuel in vacant lots. Eliot's language is stark. Burnt out ends of smoky days, grimy scraps, faint stale smells of beer. He conjures an urban landscape that is both physically and spiritually worn out. The poem features decay and monotony. The same routines, morning to evening, emphasise how time drags for city dwellers. He also features tenement imagery. The blackened street becomes a living moral force pressing on the inhabitants. And then finally, alienation and conscience. The city is almost a character that weighs on souls, pushing them to assume the world. This poem illustrates how urban decay isn't just about crumbling buildings. It's about emotional erosion too. Our second guest poem is Going, Going by Philip Larkin. I thought it would last my time, the sense that beyond the town there would always be fields and farms, where the village louts could climb such trees as were not cut down. I knew there'd be false alarms in the papers about old streets and split-level shopping. But some have always been left so far, and when the old park retreats, as the bleak high-rises come, we can always escape in the car. Things are tougher than we are, just as Earth will always respond however we mess it about. Chuck filth in the sea if you must, the tides will be clean beyond. But what do I feel now? Doubt. Or age, simply. The crowd is young in the M1 cafe, their kids are screaming for more. More houses, more parking allowed, more caravan sites, more pay. On the business page, a score of spectacled grins approve some takeover bid that entails 5% profit and 10% more in the estuaries. Move your works to the unspoilt dales, grey area grants, and when you try to get near the sea in summer, it seems just now to be happening so very fast, despite all the land left free. For the first time, I feel somehow that this isn't going to last. That before I snuff it, the whole boiling will be bricked in, except for the tourist parts. First slum of Europe, a role it won't be hard to win, with a cast of crooks and tarts. And that'll be England gone, the shadows, the meadows, the lanes, the guild halls, the carved choirs. There'll be books, it will linger on in galleries, but all that remains for us will be concrete and tyres. Most things are never meant. This won't be most likely, but greeds and garbage are too thick strewn to be swept up now, or invent excuses that make them all needs. I just think it will happen soon. Philip Larkin's Going is a powerful meditation on the loss of England's natural and cultural heritage. Written in the early 1970s, it captures a sense of anxiety about rapid urban development, commercialisation and environmental decline. Larkin's tone is deeply pessimistic, almost mournful. It begins with a belief that England's countryside and traditions will endure, but as the poem progresses, his certainty crumbles. There's also a sense of nostalgia for a greener and cleaner England, but also resignation that change is inevitable. The poem highlights how urban sprawl, pollution, and the relentless pursuit of profit are eroding the landscape and character of England. Larkin's references to concrete and tyres and spectacled grins evoke a world where nature and authenticity are being replaced by artificiality and consumerism. Although written in the 1970s, the poem's concerns feel remarkably current. The tension between preservation and progress, the loss of green spaces, and the impact of commercialisation are still pressing issues today. Larkin's work reminds us that poetry can serve as both a warning and a record of what's being lost. There's a palpable sense of grief in the poem, but also a call to awareness. Larkin's closing lines suggest that, unless we act, what we cherish may soon be gone. And the poem invites us to reflect on our own surroundings. What do we value and what are we at risk of losing? I would love to hear your thoughts. Do you see echoes of Larkin's concerns in your own town or city? How do you feel about the changes happening? But before I share one of my poems, I'd love to hear from you. If there's a poem you'd like me to feature as a guest poem in a future episode, please email me at aldencarrow78@gmail.com. That's aldencarrow78@gmail.com. It could be a classic, something contemporary, or even a personal favourite that means a lot to you. This way, the podcast becomes a shared journey. And now I'd like to take you on a journey through North Yorkshire through the lens of my own collection, North Yorkshire in Verse, Mortarshire in Poetry. After exploring the quieter, sometimes sombre side of urban life, I wanted to share something that celebrates community, tradition, and the joy of coming together. This is Malton Festival. It's a poem inspired by the annual food festival in the heart of Yorkshire, a place where the town square comes alive with a feast of May and market sound. The square erupts in scent and cheer, where foodies gather year by year, Stalls brim high with fare and flame, and Malton sings its storied name. From chutney jars to butcher's call, each vendor crafts with heart and whole. The pastry flake, the cocoa pour, invite delight behind each door. Musicians hum from alley bends, while children trace through foodie trends, and aprons worn with festive pride tell tales of Yorkshire. The banners lift in springtime light, as beer flows sweet and grills ignite. Goose-fat chips and rhubarb wine turn cobbled lanes to sacred shrine. When evening leans on roofs and spires, and embers dim on cooking fires, Malton warm from fork and flame sleeps wrapped in. What I wanted to capture in this poem is the sense of belonging that festivals create, the way food, music and laughter can transform a town square into something magical. There's a kind of alchemy that happens when people gather to celebrate local flavours and traditions. Malton Festival is more than just an event, it's a reminder of the resilience and warmth of Yorkshire communities. Even as our towns change, these moments of togetherness endure. The poem is a love letter to the vendors, the musicians, the families and everyone who makes the festival what it is. I'd love to hear how festivals or gatherings in your own towns have inspired you. What moments stand out? What flavours linger in your memory? As always, I want this podcast to be a conversation. So if you have a favourite poem about urban life, renewal, or celebration, whether it's your own or a piece that's moved you, please email me at aldencarrow78@gmail.com. I'd love to feature guest poems on future episodes and keep this community growing. Let me know what you thought of today's poems, and if you've ever been to the Malton Festival or a similar event, share your stories. Poetry is about connection, and your voices are what makes this show special. Thank you for joining me on this week's journey through urban decay and renewal, from the echoes of grimy London to the vibrant heart of Malton Festival. I hope you'll take a moment this week to notice the poetry in your own surroundings, whether it's in a crumbling wall, a bustling market, or a quiet moment at home. Until next time, I'm Alden Carrow. Keep listening, keep writing, and keep finding poetry in the everyday.